Hello, welcome back. We're looking today at the guiltless mind, and we're going to start off with a very, very powerful statement from chapter 5, section 5, paragraph 5, in fact, of the text of A Course in Miracles, and that's the guiltless mind cannot suffer. How about that? The guiltless mind cannot suffer. So only when the mind is preoccupied and burdened with guilt can it suffer. In other words, when we're preoccupied and burdened with guilt, we suffer. And when there is no guilt, there is no suffering. It's a very powerful statement here. The guiltless mind cannot suffer. So all suffering, therefore, stems from guilt, from what amounts to a massive well of unconscious guilt, mostly. And what we experience in the world, in what we call daily life, are representations. They're simply symbols. And when we experience something that constitutes suffering, something that makes us uneasy or makes us irate, sad, angry, mad, completely frustrated, that makes us want to lash out in hatred and blame, anything like that, it's merely a symbol of this guilt, this deep unconscious guilt that's rising to our awareness, our conscious awareness. These, incidentally, are our opportunities for true forgiveness. We're forgiving the symbol of our unconscious guilt. Everything is, as it sounds like, in our own mind. The world outside only appears to be outside of us. I say many times that ideas leave not their source. Well, it's not me saying that. That's a very, very well-known idea from A Course in Miracles that makes its way onto this video series a lot. You are the thought of God, and ideas leave not their source, capital S. Another way that this idea is presented is that everything's in our mind. The thoughts do not leave the mind of the thinker. Ideas leave not their source. You can see that very, very often quoted statement from A Course in Miracles in both of those ways. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. So we're told here in paragraph 5 of this section that when the mind is sane, it heals the physical body. Now, this is a powerful statement too. So let's understand something really quickly here, and then we'll move on, because there are some other very powerful ideas in this discussion. A sane mind does heal the physical body. Why? The body is in effect, mind is the cause. This is a course in mind training. It's a course in changing your mind. When you change your mind, your experience, what? Looks differently. It changes too. The physical body follows the mind, and not the other way around. Now, understand that this does not necessarily mean that if you have a chronic condition or something that is very serious, that you'll necessarily make a full and complete recovery from that. We're not saying that. What we're stressing is the idea that mind is the cause, the body is an effect. Other people's so-called bodies are effects. The physical world with all of its phenomena It's an effect. The solar system, galaxies are effects. The cause, mind. We're restating these ideas that we've said before here because repetition is so important for us when it comes to understanding our own power. I think that in daily life, we sell ourselves vastly short. We don't appreciate who we really are in any way when we're running around and limiting ourselves. Everything that we conceive of in the world is in fact a limitation. This is a limitation. Anything here in the world is a limitation, except our real thoughts. The thoughts we think with God are loving thoughts. We see here in this section of the text that illness is something that the ego really believes in. In fact, the title of this section of the course is The Ego's Use of Guilt. That's why we're looking at ideas like the one that so many of you have viewed from a couple of days ago, that the ego is insane. Oh yeah, it's nuts. It's completely insane. We're invited not to side with it. The ego uses guilt as a weapon. It uses illness as a weapon, and it thinks completely wrongly, erroneously as can possibly be, that God's going to get you and punish you, sinner. No, that God's going to get you and punish you from this separation for running off and thinking you could do better, sinner. Better run and hide. He's coming for you. He's going to toss you out of the garden with violence. That's what the ego thinks. And here, in the context of this conversation, it seems highly bizarre and almost nuts, doesn't it? Well, it is nuts. It is nuts. The ego uses illness to try to mitigate what it believes to be the punishment of God. It thinks God's coming for you to get you for wronging him. And he's always angry. He's always pissed off, vengeful, jealous. All of these words that, well, many of us attributed to God during our upbringing in a fundamentalist Christian church. Does that speak to anyone's experience? Well, the ego firmly believes that God is jealous and that by making the physical body sick, i.e., illness, we're going to mitigate punishment from on high that's sure to come. We don't know when, but he's coming for us. He's going to get us. So we're going to make ourselves sick in the meantime. Insane, yes. The ego is completely wrong. And in fact, Jesus refers to it as arrogant here, and it is. It attributes to God a punishing intent. That's impossible. Perfect love does not punish. Perfect love, number one, does not see any separation. The separation that we're so concerned about here and we're enacting in our own mind by seeing all of our brothers as separate from ourselves, that never occurred. God's not coming to get you. There is no separation of any kind. There's no one for him to get, even if he were to come searching for you. And he is not, he doesn't have to come searching for you. We're part of him and not separate parts, by the way. There is no separation of any kind. There's only perfect oneness, and part of this perfect oneness is love. God doesn't have a punishing intent. And if you're doing this verbal math, there is no sin. It's impossible. God has no ego to be offended. You cannot have transgressed him ever, no matter how much you may believe, or no matter how often, how frequently, how vehemently you may have been told otherwise. There is no sin. So, this may clarify some things for you on the path if you're searching, and if you've always resonated with this statement that there is no sin. How could there possibly be? How could a loving, kind, perfect God condemn? Not even. Not even. It's not possible. Now, we can certainly believe that it is, and when you hear a statement such as this may seem challenging to your worldview. If it is, so be it. Should you continue to watch this video, I invite you to sit with this and consider there's a reason why you're here watching. Why is that? See, what we find, no matter what our spiritual practice looks like, is that there's something within us that whispers to us, that speaks to us, maybe gives us intuitive hits or feelings, or maybe something much more overt that says there's a better way than this. There's got to be a different way. Listen to this. See what this Course in Miracles thing is all about. That's the voice of your inner teacher. So when something lands for you, when something resonates, it's not Reverend Tomas Garza that's speaking. This is an image on your screen. It's your inner teacher that's speaking to you. And each and every one of us would do very, very well indeed to listen and pay attention to our inner teacher's message. So we can believe the ego in all its insanity, in its impossibility. We can believe that. And because we can, we've got to answer a question here. Every moment of every day, what do we want? Paragraph 6 here. What do you want? That's a question that we need to answer here, because we appear to have this choice here in the present moment of God or the ego, the Holy Spirit or the ego, light or dark. There are so many ways of characterizing this choice, but these are the only two options that are available. There's one choice with two options. And we make a choice, and the effects of that choice follow automatically until we change our mind. Until the decision is changed, the effects of this, our experience of our choice, follows automatically. First, it's the choice in the mind, then everything else shows up. If you choose the ego and insanity, then, well, the insanity shows up. We begin to have insane thoughts, such as thinking that our brother is separate from us. They're a separate self-sustaining survival unit out to get us. They're going to harm us physically. They're going to harm us economically. They're going to harm these illusory concepts such as our social status, as our prestige. They're going to unfollow us on social media. Oh no. Things like that. And we then see these things happening in our experience. Someone unfollows us on social media. Someone says something nasty to us. Things appear to happen. And they do until we change our mind. In the present moment, we can choose the Holy Spirit. We can choose God. We can choose to listen to our inner teacher, which is what we're invited to do. I invite you to do that. Listen to your inner teacher, connect with your inner teacher. And you may call, incidentally, your inner teacher anything you want or nothing at all. Call your inner teacher Elvis Presley if you want to. Really, that's just a name. A name, when you think about it, is an idea. Shows up as a collection of sounds that we ascribe meaning to. Your inner teacher is part of you, part of your mind. Now, of these two choices, one is real, one's not. The ego is not. It's not. It's a simple mistake. It's insanity. Now, here's something that is very, very important for us to realize here as we go forth and practice. And that is, we've all chosen wrongly in the past. We've sided with the ego and experienced the results of that choice. Just because you have done that in the past does not make you evil. This is really important. I mean, it's true. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you a sinner. There is no sin. God has no ego to be offended. You are not a sinner. Never have been, even when you thought you were. If you thought you were, you're not. I hope that that brings you some measure of relief and comfort. We have the ability to choose right now. Right here, right now, we can choose the Holy Spirit. So what if you've chosen wrongly in the past? So what if you chose wrongly 10 minutes ago? Doesn't make any difference. Choose again right now. And we repeat this choice. And what happens when we choose the Holy Spirit? What happens when we choose God? What do we then experience? Exactly. So, because the ego is not real, our thoughts, our ego driven, individualistic, hateful thoughts are not real. They're not our real thoughts. What are our real thoughts? Our real thoughts are the thoughts we think with God. In other words, our loving thoughts, those are real. We can believe in our mistaken thoughts, but it's a mistake. We would be wrong. And when we believe in them, we are wrong. It's simply a mistake that we can correct. We correct it with the help of our inner teacher. What this course refers to as atonement is the correction of the Holy Spirit. It's the correction of our inner teacher. We accept the correction of our inner teacher for ourselves. It's very, very powerful. It's very powerful. We're told here at the conclusion of paragraph 6 something that I hope you find very uplifting. It's intended to be just that. And that is, we're a part of God's thoughts. We're referred to as the thought of God. And we cannot think apart from Him. We're part of God's mind. The thought of God. We cannot think apart from Him. These are our real thoughts. Really, really interesting and powerful cross-reference here is workbook lesson 45, if you're familiar with that. God is the mind with which I think. Let's sit with this one as we wrap up today. God is the mind with which I think. Only my loving thoughts are real. Only the thoughts I think with God are real. The other thoughts, these chaotic ego thoughts, are simply the thoughts I think. I think I'm thinking that I'm an individual self-sustaining survival unit, but no, not real. God is the mind with which I think. Very powerful if you allow this to permeate your mind. That's what I invite you to do. All right. So thank you, as always, for tuning in and joining us here. And welcome to all of you who have recently subscribed. If you've not subscribed yet, the subscription button's the red arrow down here in the corner of your screen. Go ahead and click that. I'd love to have you join us. It's an international community, and we're going through the text of A Course in Miracles. These videos, by the way, are appropriate for all experience levels, from experienced practitioners to people that are just starting out. And even if you don't have a copy of A Course in Miracles, or you've never looked at it, even if you're looking and you're curious, there's a reason why you're here. So I invite you to go deeper with that. Comments and questions, of course, are always welcome, always welcome. So feel free to drop them here on YouTube, and I will see all of you very soon.